Hi everybody and welcome to my assembly. Hello to everybody learning at school, but also hello to everybody learning at home. This is my first assembly of the new year, so I do feel that I need to say Happy New Year. I've been really pleased to be back at school this week after being poorly over the holidays, and it's been really brilliant to hear about how well everyone's getting on at school, but also to hear what amazing work those of you that are learning at home have been doing. I've heard lots and lots of teachers telling me how proud they've been about how you've adjusted, how you've been resilient, and how you've coped with moving towards learning at home rather than at school until we're all back together under one roof, which I know we're all really looking forward to. So last week's assembly that I filmed during the holidays was the one that started with little pictures of tea bags. This is another example of tiny little art, and spoiler, I think the assembly that I'm doing next week also starts with pictures of tiny little art. So I shall try and move away from small artwork. But this one really did catch my eye because I just think they're really beautiful pieces. You can see how tiny they are by the one that's held in the person's hand on the left. That's one that they're holding up. All the ones in the frames are how they're normally displayed. So you can see they're sort of strung up in the frame, suspended, a little bit like they've been caught in a spider's web. And it says, suspended within Rosa de Jong's simple wooden frames and miniature dwellings that climb the steep rocky terrain. Stilt houses, tents, and exceptionally tall ladders form the idyllic environments that are surrounded by foam moss, minuscule trees, and generally rugged topography. That's some lovely words in there. I love the word topography, but I've not picked that one as one of my focus words. So if you don't know, what I like you to do is try using some of the words from my sides in your own writing. The ones I've chosen this week are really tough. I'm not expecting that many people will be able to use them. I'm going to make a point of choosing some easier words in the next couple of weeks. But the first one is this word here. It says suspended within Rosa de Jong's simple wooden frames and miniature dwellings. Now have a think, what word could they've used instead of saying dwellings? What are all those pictures got? They've got tiny little houses, haven't they? So dwellings means a house, a flat, or another place of residence. Somewhere where someone lives is their dwelling. And the word originally meant delay, procrastination, as staying in a place. So dwelling originally meant to hang around for a bit in a place, and then it's become over time used to describe a house, a flat, or somewhere that you live. So that's the first challenge. Could you find a way in your writing this week to say that you're referring to someone's dwelling? They went back to their dwelling rather than saying they went back to their house or they went back to their cottage. And then the next word I had was stilt houses, tents, and exceptionally tall ladders form the idyllic. The idyllic. If we click on that, it says the idyllic environments, and idyllic means something that is full of natural, simple charm, or being extremely happy, peaceful, or picturesque. So you could have an idyllic dwelling. You could use both words together, couldn't you? It means it would be a place that you live that is full of natural, simple charm. So on with my assembly. Now you'll spot there's a bit of a theme between the assembly I'm doing today, the one you're watching on Friday, and the one that I'm doing next week on Monday. We're also making another change next week, and that is that we're going to do our assemblies live on a Monday and a Friday. My assembly each week will be a live one. It'll be a Zoom meeting that we invite people in school and people at home to come and see, and Mr. Marks's assembly on Friday will be a live one as well. And we hope that that makes you feel part of the school community, because we're dotted all over the place at the moment, aren't we? In lots of houses, lots of dwellings in and around the school and also in the school. But we're all still part of Alton Wistow Primary School. And we're hoping that by doing a live assembly on those days, as long as the technology doesn't play up, we're hoping it will make you feel part of a live event. So my assembly today and my one next week have a bit of a theme, and I'll talk to you about that again on Monday. So I told you last week that the target I've set myself is to learn to knit. You know, I've got my top secret challenge, which is I'm going to knit a scarf to give to my dad next Christmas. So this is my first attempt at knitting. I showed you some of the pictures of it when it was tiny. This is how much I could knit with one ball of wool. I only had one ball of wool. It's not very long. In fact, right there. There we go, look. Not really long enough to be a scarf, more like a mini shawl. But that's how far I got. And I started at the right-hand side of the picture and I finished at the left-hand side of the picture. You can see I haven't snipped off the final bit of wool. So I thought I would share with you this year my ups and downs as I learn to knit, as I get better at knitting. So this wasn't meant to be a scarf. It's me practicing the basic stitch, which is knit stitch. So I put this picture up for you. I took this picture just for the assembly and I was thinking, oh, what will the children think? And I thought, oh dear, they might spot those two holes. They look like the mice have nibbled at the scarf, don't they? But that's where I dropped 2 stitches and it's left holes in the scarf. I don't quite know how I did it. I didn't realize I'd done it, but there's these 2 holes in the scarf. And then I thought, well, you might spot that bit. You can notice it looks like my scarf has eaten a bit more and it's got a bit bigger. I don't know how I did it, but when I got to that point in the scarf, it gained some stitches from somewhere. So I think I started off with 25 stitches on my needle. I think at one point I got to 32. I'm not sure how I got there. I don't know how it happened. I haven't learned that bit yet. And I thought, gosh, there I am showing you this picture. And you might think, oh, those holes don't look very nice. Or you might think, oh, what did he do there when the scarf got too big? And then I decided actually what I would concentrate is on this bit, because you can see from the middle of the scarf, there aren't any really holes and it didn't get any bigger or smaller, really. It's quite neat, that bit. And it made me think about you this year when you're going to be working on the challenges that you're going to be setting yourself, is that it's very easy to think that you're going to get it right from the beginning. And it's really easy to think that if things don't go right, you should just stop. And I said to you a week ago that I've deliberately chosen this because I cannot knit and it's going to be a real challenge. But instead of me focusing on the things that I got wrong, I'm choosing to focus on the things that I've got right. Because when I next pick up the needles, I've got my new wool here. My new wool arrived yesterday. When I start my next attempt at knitting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remind myself that I managed that much and got it all right, rather than focusing on the bits that went wrong. And that's what I want you to be thinking about when you're working on these targets that you set yourself, is it doesn't matter if you make mistakes. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes at the beginning, it doesn't matter if you make mistakes in the middle or at the end. Making mistakes is human and it's natural. I do it all the time and everyone else I know makes mistakes lots of the time as well. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just concentrate on the things that you're learning and try and repeat the things that are going well. So on with my assembly. I'm going to have to keep moving myself around a little bit here. So what does that symbol mean? What do those 2 lines, one above the other, they're parallel lines, what do we call that symbol when we meet it? We meet it in maths in school most often. And we know that it means equals, but there's a word or a phrase that we ask you to remember when you meet that symbol, and it is this. It means the same as. So it is important to know that it's equals, but I find when I was teaching classes of my own, it sometimes helps to teach children say the same as, because it really reinforces that equals means that what is on this side is the same in value as what's on that side. So I've got an example for you here. Oh, look, I'm in the wrong place again. I should move over here. So I made a seesaw. I made some scales, and what is on one side, one calculation, is the same in value as the thing on the other side. So 3 add 2, 3 plus 2 is the same as 4 add 1, 4 plus 1, because they both equal 5. The scales are in balance. 3 plus 2 is the same as 4 plus 1. You get the same answer each time, and that's because they are equal. And that's one of the things that we're going to be thinking about in today's assembly and the assembly next week. Because what I want to focus on today Oh, look, I'm in the wrong place again. I have to keep moving around the board. What I want to think about today is what is equality. That's what my assembly is about today. And you can see the word equality has the word equal in it. Has the word equal, which we've just learned means is the same as. So equality is understanding that everyone is different, but we're all people. So no two people are the same. Identical twins will be very, 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 very similar, but they might have different interests or hobbies or slightly different voices, be different in some way. So equality means that you understand that although everyone is different, they all have one thing in common, and that is that they're all people and they're all of value. Knowing that everyone has the right to be treated fairly. We've talked about that a lot when we talked about our British values and about the values of our school, and treating others with respect. That's part of our Pride Code. So that's what equality means. It means that you respect that people are all important, you treat them fairly, and you treat them with respect. So here's a poem I found by Doe Santama, and it says, when I see through my eyes, I think we're different. When I see through my heart, I know we're the same. When I see through my eyes, I think we're different. When I see through my heart, I know we are the same. Because when you look at people, one of the things you might notice is the differences. But when you look through your heart, what you realize is that we're all people. And that's what Doe Santama was trying to say in that quote, is that we need to stop focusing on looking at people with our eyes and look at people through our hearts and recognize that we're all important, we all have value, and we should all be respected. So I want you to think about some different scenarios, some situations. I want you to imagine what would happen, what would you feel. So here's the first one. You're in school. I'm really looking forward to when I can say everyone's in school. You're in school and your teacher shares out some sweets in the class, but they give 2 sweets to every boy and they only give 1 sweet to every girl. Is that right? Is that fair? I don't think anyone would say that was fair. I think some boys might giggle and say, yeah, that's fair because we're getting 2 sweets. But is that right? The idea that we would reward one gender more than the other? Well, what would make it fair? Well, what would make it fair? You could say nobody gets any sweets, or what would make it fair is that everybody got 1 or everybody got 2. So that's the first scenario. Here's the second one. It's a PE lesson this time, and your teacher is teaching you how to skip, and they give out skipping ropes. But the thing is, they only give skipping ropes to children that have got brown hair. Everybody else isn't allowed a skipping rope, so they don't get to learn to skip. Is that right? Is that fair? Well, of course it's not. What would make it fair? What would make it fair is if everybody had the equipment they need so that they can learn to skip, so they can all have fun in the lesson as well. What about this one? You fall over and you hurt your knee, and the teacher they give you a plaster, but they give everyone in the class a plaster to put on their knee as well. Is that right? Is that fair? We've just said that fair, when the sweets meant everybody getting a sweet. We said with the skipping rope, it meant everyone was getting a skipping rope. Would it be fair? You've hurt your knee and you need a plaster. Do you make it fair by giving everybody a plaster? Does equality mean that everyone has to be treated the same? Well, it doesn't. The other people don't need a plaster. They don't need help because they don't have a sore knee. They haven't injured their knee. So equality doesn't mean treating everybody the same. What it means is about helping people in the right way to help them with the things that they're finding difficult or that are the obstacles in their life. So equality is when we make sure that everyone is treated fairly, but it doesn't mean that everyone has to be treated the same. Now, sometimes in school and in class, we hear people say, it's not fair. Sometimes people come to my office and they say, it's not fair. And sometimes I'm quite brave and I say, yeah, you're right, it's not fair. But then life isn't fair. You can't go through life thinking that you will always be treated fairly and you will always get the things that you want. Sometimes we have to treat people differently in order to help them succeed. There are some children in school, in your class, your friends, who find some things about school more difficult than you might find those things in school. And what is fair is if we give those children the support and the resources that they need so that they can succeed as well as you can. That can be quite hard because you might be looking and thinking, well, I wish that I had that. I want to have that as well. But that doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do is to help everyone so that they can all succeed. And this is an illustration that I like. This is one we looked at in school with the teachers. You can see in that first picture, there's a baseball match going on, and there are 3 people here, and they've all been given the same height box. So you think, oh, that's fair. They've all been given the same box. But this person doesn't need a box. The box just means that they're standing even higher over the fence. This person does need a box, but this person, even with a box, can't see over the fence. So what we've got here is equity. And you can see the person here that had the biggest obstacle for seeing the baseball match has been given more support, more resources, more things to help them so they can see the match. This person's been given the leg up, the support that they need, and they can see the match. And this person who didn't need any support at all can already see the match. So we're talking about equity there rather than equality. Now, I keep bringing this back to all of my assemblies because it's so important in our school. The Pride Code is the first thing I tell new parents about. It's the first thing I tell visitors to our school. It's the first thing I tell people who apply for jobs at the school. How proud we are as a school to have a Pride Code about being polite, respectful, independent, doing your best, and everybody matters. So in an assembly about equality and equity, which part of the Pride Code do you think we're thinking about? Well, it's the 2 that we keep coming back to at the moment. It's about respect and it's about recognizing that everybody matters and we should all be a part of everybody else's success. We should be lifting each other up rather than trying to put each other down. You can be the difference in someone's day between it being a rubbish day and a great day. Now, there's a book that I really love. It's this one. You Are Special, A Story for Everyone by Max Lucado. I'll be giving this book to the library or giving it to Mrs. Johnson so she can use it as well. It's a really beautiful story and I wanted to read it to you because it's a great story about what does it mean to treat people fairly. So I've taken pictures of the pictures in the book. They're really beautiful. I might have to move my picture around as we're going around. So the Wemmicks were small wooden people carved by a woodworker named Eli. His workshop sat on a hill overlooking their village. You can see it in the picture. That's his workshop at the top, and they all live in the village below. They're wooden people. They've been carved by a woodmaker called Eli. Each Wemmick was different. Some had big noses, others had large eyes, some were tall, some were short, some wore hats, others wore coats, but all were made by the same carver and all lived in the village. And all day, every day, the Wemmicks did the same thing. They gave each other stickers. Each Wemmick had a box of golden star stickers and a box of grey dot stickers. Up and down the streets, all over the city, people spent their days sticking stars or dots on one another. The pretty ones, those with smooth wood and fine paint, always got stars. But if the wood was rough or the paint was chipped, the Wemmicks gave grey dots. The talented ones got stars too. Some could lift big sticks high above their heads or jump over tall boxes. Still others knew big words or could sing pretty songs. Everyone gave them stars. Some Wemmicks had stars all over them. Every time they got a star, it made them feel good. It made them want to do something else to get another star. Others, though, could do little. They got dots. Punchinello was one of those. He tried to jump high like the others, but he always fell. And when he fell, the others would gather around him and give him dots. Sometimes when he fell, his wood got scratched, so the people gave him more dots. Then, when he would try to explain why he'd fallen, he'd sometimes say something silly, and the Wemmicks would give him even more dots. After a while, he had so many dots that he didn't want to go outside. He was afraid he'd do something silly, such as forget his hat or step in a puddle, and then people would give him another dot. In fact, he had so many grey dots that some people came up and gave him dots for no reason. He deserves lots of dots, the wooden people would agree with one another. He's not a good wooden person, they would say. After a while, Punchinello started to believe them. I'm not a good Wemmick, he would say. The few times he went outside, he hung around other Wemmicks who also had lots of dots. He felt better around them. One day, Punchinello met a Wemmick who was unlike any other person he'd met. She had no dots and no stars. She was just wooden. Her name was Lucia. It wasn't that people didn't try to give her stickers. It was just that the stickers didn't stick. Some of the Wemmicks admired Lucia for having no dots, so they'd run up to her and give her a star, but it would fall off. Just move me. There I go. Others looked down on her for having no stars, so they'd give her a dot, but that wouldn't stick either. That's the way I want to be, thought Punchinello. I don't want any marks. So he asked the stickerless Wemmick how she did it. It's easy, said Lucia. Every day I go to see Eli. Eli? Said Punchinello. Here we go. Hold on. Yes, Eli, the woodcarver. I sit in the workshop with him. Why? Said Punchinello. Why don't you go and find out for yourself? Said Lucia. Go up the hill. He's there. That's his cottage. And with that, the Wemmick, who had no stickers, turned and skipped away. But will you want to see me? Called Punchinello. But Lucia didn't hear. So Punchinello went home. He sat near a window and watched the wooden people as they scurried around, giving each other stars and dots. It's not right, he muttered to himself, and he decided he would go and see Eli. Punchinello walked up the narrow path to the top of the hill and stepped into the big shop. His wooden eyes widened at the size of everything. The stool was as tall as he was. He had to stretch on his tiptoes to see the top of the workbench. A hammer was as long as his arm. Punchinello swallowed hard. I'm not staying here. And he turned to leave. And then he heard his name. Punchinello? The voice was deep and strong. Punchinello stopped. Punchinello, how good to see you. Come and let me have a look at you. Punchinello turned slowly and looked at the large bearded craftsman. You know my name, the little Wemmick said. Of course I do, said Eli. I made you. Eli stooped down and picked him up and set him on his bench. The master spoke carefully, looking at the grey dots. Looks like you've been given some bad marks. I didn't mean to, Eli. I really tried hard. Oh, you don't have to defend yourself to me, my child. I don't care what the other Wemmicks think. You don't, said Punchinello. No, and neither should you either. Who are they to give you stars or dots? They're Wemmicks, just like you. What they think doesn't matter, Punchinello. All that matters is what I think, and I think you're very, very special. Punchinello laughed. Me? Special? Why? I can't walk fast. I can't jump. My paint is peeling. Why do I matter to you? Eli looked at Punchinello, put his hands on those small wooden shoulders, and spoke very slowly. Because you're mine, he said. That's why you matter to me. Punchinello had never had anyone look at him like this before, much less his maker. He didn't know what to say. Every day I've been hoping you'd come, explained Eli. I came because I met someone who had no marks, said Punchinello. I know, said Eli. She told me about you. Why don't the stickers stay on her? Punchinello asked. The maker spoke softly. Because she has decided that what I think is more important than what they think. The stickers only stick if you let them. What? Said Punchinello. The stickers only stick if they matter to you. The more you trust my love, the less you care about their stickers. I'm not sure I understand, said Punchinello. Eli smiled. You will, but it will take time. You've got lots of marks. For now, just come and see me every day and let me remind you how much I care. Eli lifted Punchinello off the bench and set him down on the ground. Remember, Eli said to the Wemmick, who as he walked out the door, you are special because I made you and I don't make mistakes. Punchinello didn't stop, but in his heart he thought, I think he really means it. And when he did, a dot fell to the ground. And I hope you enjoyed that story. I think it's a really lovely, magical story, and it makes me think about that we shouldn't care so much what people think about us. We shouldn't be doing things just to make people like us or to have an opinion of us. We shouldn't be chasing their approval. What we should be doing is recognizing that we're all special. We've all got different talents. We're all equal. We've all got things that we can contribute, not just to our school, but also to Walthamstow and Peterborough and the country in which we live in. And as you get older, that contribution will get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, the reason I chose that assembly, it made me think about some of the things we hear about with social media. You know, we talked to you before about keeping yourself safe online, but it makes me think, gosh, all those people that are frantic to get their tweet retweeted or to get more followers or more likes, more thumbs up for the things they do. And they measure how special they are by the gold stars, the stickers that other people give them. And they forget about the importance of recognizing what their talents are inside. You don't need other people to tell you that they like that thing you said or that you've got more followers than the next person. What's important is that you listen to your heart and you remember that you're special. People love you. You're special. You're one of a kind. You're unique. You make something really special happen in our school and in your families and in the lives of the people that you know. And that's what I want you to remember when we're thinking about treating other people with respect. Don't be quick to point out their mistakes, to put a grey spot on them because you've said something hurtful or unkind. Give people the time and space that they need to be the special person that they are. So if you want to join in the prayer, you can close your eyes and say amen at the end. If not, you can spend this time thinking about the theme of the assembly, about treating people fairly and equally. So my prayer is, dear God, thank you for making us all different. Help us to respect each other no matter what we look like or what we can do. We're all special. Let us remember that everyone matters. Now, I hope you enjoyed that assembly. You're going to see me very shortly because Mr. Marks kindly did my assembly on Monday this week whilst I was still getting better, which is why I'm doing his one on Friday, but it's back to normal on Monday and I'll be doing my Monday assembly. And you'll spot, if you're eagle-eyed and a great detective, you'll spot that there's a theme to Monday's assembly that links very closely with the theme of today's assembly. I hope you have a great weekend. I genuinely cannot wait to see everybody under the same roof again at school. I hope that happens sooner rather than later. But until then, keep yourself safe, follow all of the rules and expectations. Let's make sure that as a school we can beat this and we can all be back together soon. Take care.